Okay, are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Looks like we're live. We might be live. Should be live. And it looks like we're live, recording from Arlington, Vermont. I'm Mr. Katie, and this is Happy Valley Hobbies. And these are hobbies that make me happy. And let's see, take the chat, put it over here. And we'll go that away. All right, well, I guess today we're going to be doing model trains again for longtime viewers. What a shock. I haven't gotten, I'm not sure if it's confidence or what, but not necessarily in the mood to play with the lathe. Mainly because it's messy. And two, my landlord's in the process of selling, trying to sell the property and all that. So trying to, well, relatively keep it clean. It's definitely not homes and gardens that my apartment's like that. It would probably take a week in order to get to that particular setup. But what I have been doing is slowly pecking away at my dioramas. And right now, we're picking on this diorama, which I've gotten the track laid, and sorry for bouncing the camera. But also have just started adding some rock work and stuff along those lines. Now the interesting thing is that two of the dioramas that I'm doing, they're actually set up to be more what I'm planning on for the whole setup, or for the what I'm planning for the layout. Right now, the layout is standard gauge, but I am in the process of making it so it's broad gauge. So, for eagle-eyed viewers and all that, this probably looks closer more to S gauge HO. In fact, the guardrails on the bridge are actually standard gauge because there is enough clearance for everything in order to do it that way. Because 4 foot is very close to, or standard gauge is very close to 5 foot, and so 6 foot is basically wind up adding 6 inches to each side. So if I do this, now this locomotive is, well, it's technically HO scale. From my understanding, the reality is that this is the Dixie locomotive. I guess mold that started out with Mantua. Then it wound up going to Tyco when Mantua split the model train division off. And the thing is that it's supposed to be a model of the Sierra number 3, also known as the Hollywood locomotive because it's in so many films. But Well, hello there, Wigwag. Thank you for coming. Uh, and as I'm explaining, this locomotive, from what I understand, is actually not HO scale or 187th. Uh, Someone suggested that this is more close to 176, and if you actually measure out uh, the width of the tender and the cab, it actually comes out to 11 feet, whereas HO scale, it's American loading gauge is 10 foot. Since this is modeling 6-foot gauge, just like narrow gauge locomotives are smaller than standard gauge. Uh, uh, or full size or broad gauge locomotives are larger than standard gauge. So, having a locomotive that's out of scale, uh, which makes it a little bit larger. So from my understanding, this is a larger scale of 176, but then they narrowed uh, the gauge so it run on HO scale track. I don't think this is OO scale, but I guess it's closer to that. So my plan is to take uh, also the other companies that would also make uh, 18th century locomotives actually a little bit larger to get the motors to fit in. Actually, if we take a look at this, the motor actually has the back head of boiler so far back, it's actually almost to where the tender is. There's no room for somebody. I think on number 3, I think the boiler actually comes to here, but in order to fit the motor in, they had to scooch that back a bit, so it's a little bit, you can't actually use it that way. One thing I've had added with this and on the other diorama are rocks. So basically today I'm planning on adding a weathering mix to make them not as bright white rock castings. Sort of like my ongoing playing around with uh, uh, weathering. So that's not as secure as I thought. I thought that was nice and secure. It's not. So I guess we'll add more glue to it. Sworn that was on there. Some type. It's not. It's not. It's not. So those are patched. Now these are plaster rocks. I got a Woodland Scenics kit that originally I wanted the one that had water on it, but they didn't have that. Where I bought this set, they did not have it. They didn't have the water one, so I went the mountain one. That's why I'm going to insert this way. Probably going to add more of these rocks around. One disadvantage with this, from what I can see, is that it's a very uniform color. It makes everything all uniform color. Sure to fix that. Oh, hello there, Anthony. I'm assuming you have your equipment ready for your live stream. That's coming up soon. You left Steve Chyler's stream before he shouted both us out. Said you were leaving, and then he turned around and said, "Well, your stream is at." Well, first I think you did my stream first at 2:30, and then mentioned that yours is at 3:30. I thanked him for the shout out, and I think by that time you were long gone. This plaster seems really, really dry, so I'm letting as much in there to get the, the weathering mix from Hunterline. So it soaks in there real deep, so it winds up chipping. It's not as obvious. Also, doing that does seem to do slightly different texture. It's a good thing. This being alcohol based also dries quicker. So some other small diorama. Now the other diorama, the rock is sort of kind of underneath. So getting to that slight change. So the other bridge to hold up the other bridge. Right now, they're being coated creosote black. So here. So it's not dried out. So that's smooth. Ah, so both of them should still find a better. Yeah, there's just slider. So we didn't hold on those, so goes down. Cover these and then figure out later on how to reattach them. Because I put these directly above on top of grass, so see where the grass sort of preclude the grass. It attaches itself to the grass, not to the model. So explains why that would stay attached. This one I think I forgot that. See any glue or anything else underneath it. actually works out with these because since they were underneath the bridge, see them anyway. So one of the interesting things with creosote black is that it does seem to have like a sheen to it. Soaking. I'm going to use driftwood. That might wind up adding sort of like the color of these rocks to it. Just try as much as now it's starting to have the marblish color to it. Yeah, you sort of like disappear real quickly when you say you're gone. You know, as soon as you hit the enter key, you're done. At least that's what I've noticed. In which, and I think a lot of people do that because there's a lot of times they would turn around and say, "Hey, bye, see you later," and all that, and get no response from the person went to. So I guess that's what the normality of this situation is. I'm not really too worried about on here, getting stain and stuff all over the place. Mainly because this is going to be a lot of this stuff is going to be having grass and stuff on it, so it should become buried in or eat everything. One of the things is trying to not make it uniform. Seems to still wind up happening. And this and valves to this. Remember correct. Probably should get the yeah, that's usually the way of I guess the normality of things because there's a lot of times there's especially the more popular chat rooms where there's usually a lot of people, and then it's actually very hard to say hi and bye to everybody. there's some streams there. It's like um, you actually, I actually lose track of like who's saying buy and high, especially the beginning of the stream. There's just so many people. I do my best to catch everybody, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if I didn't catch anybody, if I didn't catch everybody, it's not a slight, me doing a slight on them. It's just that there's just so many. First things first, gotta open the bottle up. And we On this one, I'm trying the opposite what I did on the other one, where I put, put the ballast or ballast down first. It's not really ballast. It's I think what they had pre-ballast, which I forgot the name of it. Because ballast, the way they had set it up, is have it where you would have these jagged rocks mostly sit up underneath the rails, then you would tap it. I think the error that I'm doing, they didn't have crushed stones. It's more dirt. And the way it was set up is that pile is very high towards the center. That was more for drainage. So that's what I'm trying to replicate here. And this was when I think most of the track they would put basically directly onto the ground. Basically during the 18th century, they were still figuring a lot of things out, but worked on a road, not necessarily worked on a railroad. Now, spread acid brush. This brush. Swoop it around this way. Oh, hello, Mystic. Now, speaking of not being able to catch everyone on time, I know for myself because my monitor is over there and I'm looking here, I do have a tendency to, miss people when they wander in. I think a lot of people that are trying to do something, think like go via and go via or go home. Last night, I think had the same problem, even though he was looking kind of directly at the screen, still concentrating on doing something and missing people in chat. James was helping out with James and Trackside Mike were helping out with chat. Rubia, which I can't think of his name off the top of my head. It's not available to keep on top of conversations. From what I've seen with track at the period track, is that usually there wasn't ballast really underneath the rails, so they would be able to drain it, be more like a normal road. They didn't realize at the time that just because it works on a normal road does not necessarily mean it work with railroads. A lot of times it's that, oh well, it works this way, it works for this situation, so let's do it in this situation. And it doesn't work in that situation. A lot of them are still usually the decision makers usually have no clue what's going on. Keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again and not realizing what's going on. Challenge on this one is I'm going to do that so I don't want to, because I don't want to actually glue the bridge directly. So I want to be able to, if I want to put this bridge on the layout, I want to be able to take the bridge out without destroying. Scenery and all that, sort of still, I'm practicing on it, so doesn't survive. Bridge, on the other hand, actually keep it. So that is the challenge for that. But I'm also not too much worried about getting stuff on the track. This is a diorama, so I don't have to worry about electrical connections. And for the ballast, I'm using fine ballast and buff with from the Scenics, sort of the hashtag not sponsored deal. The reason why I went with buff instead of a more grayish color is because around here there's a lot of marble, so actually a lot of the stones around here are actually more tan than they are gray. They are they look more like the, the the aquarium rocks like that. Which it's very interesting because if you look at you're used to seeing in other parts of the country and all that, and all of a sudden see where everything is sort of more tan than blue granite. It does look very different. I'm trying to cover the sides, strip down the she goes over the ties. I might have asked somebody from the Civil War group how to do this. The interesting thing is that a lot of times that some of the people from the that do the Civil War they do O scale. So O scale actually for O gauge usually comes out to be gauge is 5 foot, not standard gauge. That's why there's a whole thing of between Proto 48 and what they call OW5. And that's why I'm thinking that I haven't seen anywhere officially where it's uh, where they have it set up where it's where W designates wide gauge. Because normally, the wider gauges I've seen are usually talked about in broad, not in wide. Okay. Well, I think this is the second time, Wigwag, that someone decided to schedule a meeting during model training time. So sounds like you might not need to introduce a coworker to model trains. That's just me. My immediate boss at work he likes doing model cars, specifically monster trucks. So, I mean, we don't always go to the same hobby shops and all that, but there is cross pollination. Now let's go to the other side. And it's one of those things of scheduling a meeting on Friday PM on a Friday. I almost want to say it's, to me, if I was to do that, it'd be more of a debriefing, not a, hey, this is what we need to do. I'm usually not in charge of meetings, so I'm in charge of the meeting at work. I've been in charge of meetings, not work related. But see, this is wet water, which is maybe a drop or two of the appropriate uh, dishwasher soap in it. Looks like some more, yeah. Let's try to say semi dry. And figure out exactly what I want to fill here. The random pieces of glue probably would not hurt it at this point. So beginning, it's more about the layers. sort of concentrating on stairs. And then realize and remember that a lot of things look different when they're wet. Right, this one. And you have and you have this. I don't know if they're still in business, but do you remember when I was able to get this? They have the most beautiful coal you could think of, but I actually don't know if they're still in business. But I might just wind up sprinkling some of that in there just to add a little variety. Stay tuned. One major thing I did wrong with the covered bridge one is I had everything all nice and straight with the wood glue and all that, and then when I tried to add else with diluted white glue, just took the rails completely up. This one I did all the rail was done with CA glue, so worry about glue coming apart with water. This thing indicate setting that's better after spreading everything down. Add some water afterwards, just sort of let everything move. And then figure out what the piece. I know I'm planning on putting same block and grass that I did the other one. And now there's going to be bits and pieces of rock there, so that change things just a. These are, for those who didn't see this in the beginning, this is going to go underneath the covered bridge. It's interesting where the rock was, that turned gray, but where the glue was, which hasn't dried yet, that is still there. So Switch this. And this is a rock from the area. So as you see, it's very light colored as well. All the marble that's in the area. Now for the trestle, trestle done as broad because I think when I originally did it, I wasn't thinking of I wasn't thinking of broad gauge. Well, the types of stuff on stuff you not as a not as a mistake or as a need to stuff. So I can see the position. These were extra. These were ties that I put there to make sure that it was. Ooh, nice. Such a small. It's relatively strong. Air. Slam. Slam. Reach. Grab one that's out of reach. Alright, grab one that's out of reach. That go. when it gets to a point where the more you try to fix it, the more it breaks. Roots. It's dry enough. All right, here. Repaint obviously this part. So and then painting these. Then turn around and add the appropriate ground cover. Makes things nice again. Actually thinking maybe I should turn around and paint everything this color. Basically, this was a mist, and one of those off things that you can see where the X is. Like, yeah, you didn't. Since it's a brownish color, you might do that for other things. Instead of painting it green, just leaving it brown, and go that direction. It's my current thought process. That. Yeah, with this one over here, turn around and actually, well, one, get rid of these pins. And secondly, add the roof on it and go from there. So this is, that's practically done right now. I might go back over it with the other pieces of stonework that I had that came off of it. Find another way to read those. We'll go from there. So the cover bridge might be, now it had to say practically done. May or may not show up next week, but I know at Nutrex Modeling they have a segment that has to do with just the people who are watching. It's like basically saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" And that's what probably will show that showing up with both. Actually, probably all three of these. This bridge and this actual setup was featured earlier on after I had built all this, but all of this was not done. It was just basically the bridge and saying that, hey, there's some track on it, etc. That's what that was all about at that time. I hadn't had any of the extra stuff on, so it's probably what I'll do next time is basically turn around and just do this all as brown clean things up a little bit and re-add the track back on. This would be this is going to be practically done. So speaking of practically done, it's starting to look like that time. Why, thank you. The thing about the interesting thing about the bridges is that Rick Hunter from Hunter Line is the one that did most of the stuff on. My mic is breaking up a bit. Okay. Well, I think what's gonna. All right. Thank you for hanging out with Anthony, and maybe I'll show up at yours. I'm gonna see about changing over microphones to see if that changes. Because I'm thinking right now is I have changed microphones. Is that good or is that bad? Right now I'm thinking of right now I'm using Zoom, and I'm starting to think that Zoom and other things are starting to really stress my computer. Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, as soon as I say that's interesting, my monitor on the laptop keeps on flashing, and I switched microphones, and it's seen that it stopped flashing, but now it started flashing again. So that's telling me that my my laptop is being stretched to its limit. So it is time for me to try to figure out what to do to turn around and make that not be a problem. I know enough about computers to be dangerous. However, all right, let's switch over to this one and be blonded out because the sun is just coming into my room, so everything is blue now. So yeah, Anthony has headed out, so he's going to be starting in a couple of minutes. So that means I'm going to turn around and start closing this down. Because right now it's basically time to watch paint dry, or glue dry more accurately. And that's not really exciting. So, well, Anthony Dodge, the Model Train Outsider, is up next. I might be popping my nose in there in the chat. So if I see you, I see you. Looks like Wigwag's got dragged into a meeting, so I won't be seeing him. But I would have to say thank Anthony, Wigwag, Mystic Railroad, I think that's what pretty much showed up all today from what I could tell with chat. But I think, as I said before, I'm more of trying to the after views, not necessarily the live stream itself. But it's one of those things of getting there one, let's see, there's 5 people in and 5 likes, so it looked like everyone liked the video. So for those who are watching this on the replay and you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. Comment what you liked about the stream. Comment what you didn't like about the stream. I mean, engagement is engagement according to pretty much according to the algorithm. But the way I look at it is that the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around.